Hey, Handyman Dan here with You Can Build This. In this video, we're gonna show you how to install laminate flooring. We're gonna show you a lot of tips and tricks to make your flooring project go smoothly. We'll also go over many of the tools we use to make this project go faster. I'm doing this project with my brother-in-law, and between the two of us, we did all the flooring in this 500 square foot garage turned apartment in the Southeast United States in about 3 days. When you're installing flooring, you always want to make sure you're working on a clean surface. For obvious reasons, you won't be able to clean anything under the flooring afterwards, so it's important to use a broom, and we used a shop vac to remove as much of the dust and debris under the flooring as we could. The reason we put underlayment down is to have everything float, and it gives a little bit of cushion to this concrete floor that's really hard. Because it's concrete and it sucks up moisture and dispenses moisture, we put this thick black plastic down first. The black plastic will keep any moisture from penetrating up into the foam and the pieces and keep everything at bay down below it. What's really nice about this black plastic and the foam, on each long end, both of them have some double stick tape, so the top layer adheres to the new layer underneath it. This whole flooring is floating, which means we're not using any nails or fasteners to attach it. Because of this, we want to make sure to leave a 1/4 inch gap around everything. This will be covered up by the baseboard though. Just don't go wider than that, or else your baseboard won't cover it up and you'll have a nasty gap. Luckily, this is such a small space that we were able to put everything down at once. Normally, you would have to put some kind of transition strip in, but with how this is going, we're able to do all of it in one swoop. The way these planks are set up is actually pretty slick. You've got basically two sides. The top and the left side all have a short bevel on it. If you look right here, it's got a little groove right here. And this groove sits on top of this little lip right here on the back end of the plank before it. Same with the top. It's actually chamfered. It kind of slopes down so that the plank will slide on top of the one before it, and then it locks in. To put in your plank right here, you put your piece down at an angle, kind of wedge it in. I like to give myself a 1/2 inch right here, just so that I know I'm not going to mess up this lip or damage it when I'm pounding it in. I'm using a non-marring rubber mallet. This is softer rubber, this is a little bit harder, denser rubber. And then we've got this tool right here. This has a square lip on it. This has a beveled lip on it. The square lip rides on the back side of here. So as you go down, this joint closes. I'm just moving this pounding tool right here. And as I go down, the board is going to settle down and be flat. Okay, see how it went flat? Now this top part is still up a little bit, that's okay. As I pound from the back side, this joint will close up. Now you can move on to the next one. Before you place your next board, you just want to make sure that your foam underlayment is flat. Putting it in, tilting it like so. I really like their pet scratch warranty, and it's a waterproof system. What I really like too about it is that it's textured. It's not flat. A lot of times when we were looking for our flooring material, the waterproof stuff did not have a texture, and we were really worried about it being too slippery. But this has a texture on it, so it'll be nice to walk on it. Now, if you're thinking about doing a project like this, there's a couple things you need to consider. One, how level your floor is, and two, how long it's gonna take. The center portion goes really fast, incredibly fast, because you can just lay out all your planks and pop them in, and it feels like you're making really incredible progress. The challenging part is when you get to all these little corners and niches. All of these niches for like the fridge, the range, the washer and dryer, the closet, going around any doors into the bathroom. Just going around those niches is gonna take the same amount of time as doing this whole interior of the floor. You're gonna waste a whole lot more material on those cuts and those edges. One, because you're probably gonna mess up and you have to cut a couple of those same things a couple times to make sure you get the right fit. What we're doing here is we're aligning every 4th row, and that's kind of how we're organizing this pattern here. We've got the joint of this board right here And then we go 3 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4th row has a joint there. So for this next row that we're doing, I just need to find the joint right here. And then this is my starting point. So 1, 2, 3, 4, my 4th board right here is gonna start at this part with where the level's at right now. We just came past this wall right here. This is the wall for the bathroom. We're gonna use this laser to make sure that we're keeping all of our pieces straight and aligned, because it can have a tendency while we're wrapping around this wall to scoot in a little bit and curve in. So this will help us keep everything straight. What we're doing is we're taking all of the pieces out of the box and we're sorting it on the wall, because we found that some of the patterns are duplicated in the box. And so this way, when they're all open, it gives us more ability to select the variants that we want and make sure that we don't have duplicates within the same area. As a general rule of thumb, whatever the square footage is of your space, you'll want to order 20 to 30% more, because you'll have a lot of cutoff pieces. Honestly, it's really quite easy to do it by yourself. What's really nice is if you can have somebody helping you at least lay out the boards for you. If that person can also cut boards, that's a huge plus, because the less amount of times you have to get up off of your knees, the better. So if you can measure it and have them cut it while you're putting in the next piece and so forth, then you'll go a lot faster. It's even worth it to like hire a neighbor kid and have them come help you out. It'll save you so much time, and you'll probably get a fairly good deal out of it too. Well, my brother-in-law and I worked for 4 hours today. We're pretty tired. We completed the bathroom, the outside bathroom wall, the washer and dryer niche, and the range niche. And today I got 2 special helpers, my niece and nephew. It's gonna be a fun day. Mostly for me, because I get to say a lot of dad jokes. 6, 7. They just rolled their eyes like crazy. When I'm doing flooring, I like to have 3 separate cutoff piles or bad piles. This one is a pile of all of the bad pieces that have like a scratch or a ding on them, where the majority of the board is fine, but it's got some kind of imperfection that we can't use the full board. Then next to our saw, we want to have 2 cutoff piles. One pile is for the short end of the board, and one pile is for the long end of the board. This way we can easily find these down the road when we're going into a nook or something. You never throw away a board unless you cut off both sides of it. This is a good side that you have, because we can use this on the left wall where we need a short cutoff piece. And then this side is good for the right side of the wall where we need a short piece with the short end on there. This piece is a perfect example of where I want to use a really good board, but if I have a scrap board that I can use instead, that would be much better. Just turns out that we've got this board. The majority of this board is great, except for we've got about 5 inches on this end where it's got some kind of defect or cut. So I'm going to cut this right here, and then right here for about 1/4 of an inch, I'm going to rip this down, and then it's going to fit in that back corner. Sweet. Now it's really important when you're cutting this stuff to exhaust it somewhere else outside of your workspace, because this flooring dust is nasty. I forgot to mention this tool. This thing is so awesome. This part goes against the wall, allows you to grab onto the part closest to the wall, and then you use your hammer to swing and hit this side, and it helps you pull boards tight and get them away from the wall. If you have to get one of these out, like I did with this piece because it got chipped, you just got to be really careful. It might cause you to take out a couple other pieces or make them loose, but that's okay. So since they go in, going down like that, I'm just gonna move them the opposite way. So I'm just gonna lift up on them, try and get it out. Because it's connected here and here, I gotta get this out first before I try to lift up on the board to get it to disconnect from there. Sometimes it doesn't work, and you just gotta realize that you can't salvage all the pieces, but if you're careful with it and patient, then you can usually salvage it. This is the worst part about working in a really small space. You have to constantly move everything around to make space so you can keep going. We had to move all these planks, which were against this wall, so that we can move the plastic this way. And then once we get the boards here, then we can move the fridge into place, and then we can start working our way back. Everything that's here needs to go on top of this because this is the finished floor. That's the worst part about doing a small space like this. What do you think? That's it. It's looking good. I have been working all day long, and you come home from your job.
Be like, what have you been doing all day? Doesn't look like you got anything done.
For really thin or small pieces where the grooves don't have enough surface area to stay together, one trick is to use a product called CA glue, which has an activator. Once you spray the activator onto it, it cures really fast. And this will keep everything nice and solid. Bro-in-law got a boo-boo. This top part was absolutely the worst because where we started, we had to go forward a little bit and we wanted to make sure we had a full run of a row, and that was at this door entry part into the bathroom. But what that meant is that we had to start there and then work up going from there, and then once we got that in, then we could work backwards and go towards the garage doors here. Why that's difficult is because when you get into these niches, it makes it a lot harder to get in around those door jambs and the niches and against the wall and everything. Hope you can see how easy it was to lay this. It's so much easier when you have a full side that you can cut all your little pieces and then lay everything out. Hope this helped you out, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. We went to go get some drinks, and my niece just said that I seemed like a CrossFit type of person and a DIY person. And I said, oh really? What gave that away? Hence the shirt. I don't know what a CrossFit person looks like, but apparently I look like one, which is great because I do CrossFit. Hey, so what are we gonna name this guy?
Frederick.
Frederick. Hello, Frederick. How's it going? Listen to me when I'm talking to you. He's got a chokehold on him. Oh yeah, get him. Frederick, save yourself. I hold the camera, that means you work. You gonna cut that or what? Can we see that move one more time? What? It's not. No, stop it. Ugh. He's making fun of me because I keep picking the same boards. They're so hard to tell. Eagle-eyed Jeremy here. Oh yeah, get it, girl. Yeah, you